Oakland, California. Population 425,000 humans, 4 African elephants, 2 gray wolves, 4 tigers, a troop of baboons, a flock of flamingos, and 700 other native and exotic animals who call the Oakland Zoo their home. So how did the land of indigenous Ohlone people become the land of lions, tigers, and bears? And how did a collection of animals managed by a big game hunter become a world-class nonprofit leader in animal care and wildlife conservation? And what does the story of the Oakland Zoo reveal about the constantly evolving relationship between humans and the natural world?
Applying for permits, the zoos must prove the pandas won't be just on display. There will be ongoing conservation and research, and sometimes even breeding programs.
The story of the Oakland Zoo starts with one man, Henry A. Snow. Originally from Santa Cruz, Henry Snow was a naturalist and big game hunter who was commissioned with collecting specimens for the Oakland's first museum in 1919. The Snow Museum of Natural History also featured a small collection of living animals. Henry Snow's strategy of capturing wild animals was undeniably unethical by today's standards, and his hunting practices even got him into some trouble in his day. But the animal collection of Henry Snow was similar to most primitive zoos or menageries in the early 20th century. It featured exotic animals displayed in small and barren cages explicitly for human entertainment. Henry Snow's son Sidney took over operations of the zoo after his father's death in 1927 and founded the non-profit Alameda County Botanical and Zoological Society to support the zoo. The zoo originally called downtown Oakland its home, but after a brief relocation to what is now Joaquin Miller Park, the zoo settled in its permanent location in 1939, Nolan Park in the hills above San Leandro. During the next several decades, changes at the Oakland Zoo look a lot like changes in zoos across America. Earlier zoos kept animals in small, barren cages with limited concern for animal welfare, but as knowledge of animal husbandry increased, many zoos began to exhibit animals in much larger, more naturalistic exhibits, separating the animals from guests with things like moats or fences rather than bars to provide a more natural experience. Zoos learned more about nutrition and focused on keeping animals mentally and physically stimulated. With better captive welfare science came longer lifespans and more reproductive success in zoos, which meant they no longer needed to take animals from the wild. In the late 1960s, the environmental movement in the United States began, and as people became more aware of issues facing wildlife, zoos took on a new role as advocates for endangered species. Since the 60s, zoos have been crucial in the recovery of several species from the brink of extinction, including the black-footed ferret, California condor, and Channel Island fox. While the Oakland Zoo looked very different from its 1922 self, by the later 1980s, Oakland Zoo was rated one of the 10 worst zoos in America, and was on the brink of shutting down. In 1987, the Oakland Zoo hired veterinarian Dr. Joel Parrot, and he put together an aggressive development plan that brought the zoo up to modern standards. Parrot oversaw the building of a new children's zoo, new baboon, chimpanzee, and elephant exhibits, and after 20 years he had essentially rebuilt the entire zoo, block by block. During that time, the Oakland Zoo also gained respect as a leader in animal care. They were one of the first to develop revolutionary protected contact management strategies with African elephants, which is now an industry standard. They also added a more robust education program to reach school groups throughout the Oakland community and teach about wildlife and conservation. In 2017, the East Bay Zoological Society was renamed the Conservation Society of California to reflect their evolving purpose and commitment to conservation. And in June of 2018, the zoo completed a 57-acre expansion, where guests take a gondola up to California Trail, a collection of expansive, naturalistic exhibits of California wildlife, including jaguars, mountain lions, and grizzly bears. The exhibits and associated signage have a strong focus on conservation of native species, and collectively tell a powerful story about how human development has impacted Bay Area wildlife. Like many accredited zoos and aquariums, today the Oakland Zoo goes beyond simply displaying endangered species for educational purposes, but is an active participant in the protection of these species from extinction. In addition to conducting its own research and local conservation efforts, the zoo partners with a wide variety of conservation organizations across California, the United States, and the world, and today helps fund conservation organizations for many of the species they exhibit. The zoo sees almost 900,000 visitors annually, having a huge impact on the way people of the Bay Area understand and connect to wildlife. In the early 20th century, when Henry Snow first set out to collect animals for the Oakland Zoo, there were estimated to be 10 million African elephants left in the wild. In 2016, only 323,000 remained. Since the founding of the Oakland Zoo, hundreds of species have gone extinct, and thousands hang on the brink of extinction. Things have changed for wildlife, and our zoos and societies reflect this. Instead of existing to showcase exotic species for entertainment, our zoos exist to protect valuable genetic diversity, support animals in the wild, and inspire the next generation of conservationists to tackle some of our biggest environmental problems. I've found that when you spend time at a zoo, you can often learn as much about what it means to be human as you can about the animals. The last time I was at the Oakland Zoo, as I was watching the baboons, a man standing next to me said this.
I don't know, you look at a creature like that and then you look at our species, you know, we're not that much.
It's really not that much different. Yeah, totally. I think that when we look at animals, so often we see ourselves looking right back. We are reminded of how much we have in common, not only with other forms of life on Earth, but also with one another. In an intensely diverse and urban area like the East Bay, the Oakland Zoo is a little sliver of the wild that can remind us that we share this planet with so many incredible and diverse forms of life, and that we may not be so different after all.